This is your time. This is the Q&A session of the Fanfest. We're going to have some fun. I have one particular ground rule to go over. If you've been with me in years past, you know that we like to keep it above board, and that's the only way that we try and do this, okay? So let's keep your questions above board, and we'll get along just fine. Thank you. I want to introduce the distinguished panel, and we'll go from left to right. Lady right over here needs no introduction, but she gets one from me anyway. She is the WWE Hall of Famer, and currently is available on Tough Enough as one of the trainers. She does a great job. It's Lita. The lady next to Lita is a former WWE diva. She was involved in the late 90s. It's Ryan Shamrock. And her escort, evidently. Needs no introduction, but he's one of the premier wrestling personalities. I've known this gentleman for quite some time, and I still enjoy his company. WWE Hall of Famer, Mean Gene Okerlund. To his left, a gentleman who is an amazing performer in his day, and also he finally got the respect that he was due by getting inducted this past March into the WWE Hall of Fame. He is a living legend. He is Larry Zbyszko. Another former WWE diva joins us today. Certainly no stranger to a lot of us. She is Jackie Gata Haas. The lady to her left, another former WWE diva. If you want to remember, she was Ariel. She also was Salinas in another company. It's Shelly Martinez. Are you singing Red, Red Wine?
No, because we had some wine and we want more, and then she was like, I want white, and I said, can some wine, we'll give you a picture, like, come on, red, white, and how about mine?
Oh, so you worked the free 99 thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotcha.
Absolutely.
Good job. All right. Another former WWE diva joins us, the lovely Crystal Marshall. What can I say about this lovely lady? A former WWE diva, and right now she is the First Lady of Ring of Honor, and you have a championship, correct?
I do. Well, it's not my championship, it's my husband's actually. It's the Kingdom's championship.
The Kingdom's championship.
And it's IWGP.
IWGP, okay. Well, this is Maria Kanellis. And last but certainly not least, this gentleman I have known for nearly 34 years.
At least.
At least. All right, 35 years. There, make it better, okay? And I know this guy. He is an amazing human being, a very talented artist, and was my roommate in Legends House. Well, not my roommate, but he was part of Legends House. He was the roommate of Gene Okerlund. Absolutely. WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. All right. That was kind of lame. Tony told you you're going to do it. You got to say it with vigor. All right, so this is the ground rules, as I say. I am looking for not shy people. I'm looking for people that have questions, and we want to make this a very participatory event. Everybody's fair game, but again, the bottom line is let's keep the questions above board, and we'll get along just fine. So without any further ado, who's going to ask the first question? There we go. Tell us your name, where are you from, and who do you want to direct your question to?
Gladys, also Darius Square Triple Cafe podcast hostess. And my question is for the ladies. How do you feel about the explosion of women's wrestling nowadays?
Do you want to direct this to anyone in particular, or you want everybody to make a brief comment? Because I don't want to get into that kind of habit, because that takes time. So we'll allow this. So ladies, what do you think of the explosion of women's wrestling and what?
Today's market as opposed to about 20 years ago.
Okay. Okay, how do you feel about the explosion of women's wrestling in today's genre as opposed to women's wrestling 20 years ago? We'll start with Maria.
Do you want me to have that? I think it's amazing, and I think it's long overdue. Women for a long time have been incredible talent, and just now they're getting the recognition they truly deserve.
I think that as one of the very few African American women in the company, I feel like it is so beautiful to see the diversity that's being spotlighted in the women's division, and I don't think that's been that way in the past. So it's another small drop in the bucket. We've got a lot further to go. It's great.
I agree with both of them, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's about damn time, you know what I mean? And I just look forward to seeing it evolve, because it is a man's business. I'm not gonna get all political, but it's the truth. And it's just really cool to see that there's just so many variations of people out there now, especially I know with WWE, their reputation, generally speaking, has been, oh, you know, that's kind of cookie cutter, da-da-da, but throughout the years, it's like been changing, but now I feel more than ever, there's like, look at the girls on there, they're just like so different, and I think it's really cool.
I'm going to fourth what the other ladies had said, just along with being very diverse and it coming from the days of, you know, Moolah and Mae Young, and then, you know, just from generation to generation, and seeing the evolution of them. Oh, great. It just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really just
I'm in love with one myself.
just to see it truly evolve, and everything that I watched on TV and learned to love and was just so blessed at, with, you know, starting with Toughen Up and everything, and just seeing how it's truly become so mainstream and women just being respected. It's great.
Well, thank you very much, but you know what, in terms of an old school guy like me, who is very old school, hardcore, and still am, I think the Diva division is great. I mean, it's really cool to see, not that they're all like hot, but the athletic ability. I mean, I've watched some of these women, I'm totally impressed by their athletic ability. You know, I mean the way they move, I think it's great. Very nice.
Yeah, I thought you should just keep going, just do it. Perfect, nail it, just in. Hey, what do you think, Alicia?
Hi. I actually think it's not just the women. I mean, the whole sport has evolved so much, and men, women, and it's supposed to be different, right? Everything's supposed to change to keep people interested. So, I mean, I think I like all the old-timer girls, not pointing at you, and all the new ones. So, I think it's exactly where it's supposed to be.
We don't need to like do the lackluster applause in between each thing. Like, it's gonna get old real fast. This is an hour. I mean, we're just gonna chill and talk. Yeah. You asked the question as far as between 20 years ago and now. So 20 years would put us at like what, 95? Is it 2015? Was that the? So, you know, we're looking at the age of Medusa, Leilani Kai, like that kind of era, Wendy Richter. That would be around then. So that's a huge gap. Heidi said, you know, let's just say throughout 20 years ago, and then from there, you know, it really kind of started, whereas it was like a special attraction. And then as we started to see the dawn of the Attitude Era with a lot different personalities, more like Chyna and Sable and some really groundbreaking stuff there, and then taking it further on when the women were really in the mix and the resurgence of the women's title. And then, let's say going back more like 10 years ago, you know, or so, and then it, like dropping off quite a bit. I think now it's interesting to see where things more like Ring of Honor or NXT are really getting, or Shimmer, you know, are getting a lot of attention, because we're kind of, the women's division, it had a definitive drop off, you know, in the mid, early, you know, the mid 2005, 6, 7, somewhere, or potentially after Trish and I retired, took a bit of a nosedive. And now it's like we're building it from the ground up, back from the indies and from NXT and Ring of Honor and Shimmer and that, and it's taken a minute, and I think we're getting there. So I'm impressed to see the development and excited to see this next chapter of where these girls that were inspired by the girls of 20 years ago or from the early 2000s or Attitude Era are going to be able to take things.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's the only question I'm going to allow for everybody to have to say so, because we have a lot of people here, we have a lot of time, and as Amy mentioned, this hour is going to fly, okay? So who has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, good, okay. Tell us your name and where are you from?
My name is Dante Luna. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
Dante, who do you want to direct your question to?
Amy.
Okay.
Amy. All right, so I have a question for you. I was wondering about the significance of independent wrestling, or the culture of independent wrestling. I started working on an independent wrestling project, and I started learning more about the business. The more I learned about it, about stuff I had to unlearn so I can grasp what independent wrestling was. So from your experience, I would love to get what you think the significance of independent wrestling is, or of the culture.
So let me just ask, do you mean your significance of independent wrestling in juxtaposition to its effect on WWE, or just in the world?
No, in general, because there's some people comfortable with where they're at, and they're, WWE is not the stage that they're aiming for, but they love to entertain.
What are you saying? You mumbling.
I apologize.
I'm old, you gotta talk up, kid.
It's all good.
Feel like I'm on a polo talk.
I mean, I wanted to talk about the culture in general, because the independent wrestling scene in general, how you reflect on its significance to the business. Yeah, because there's some people I've met in the independent scene who are comfortable and they're fine with it, where they're at, and they like entertaining people on that level, and that's what they're having. To me, that's how you measure success, and that's awesome. So I want to see if I can get your thoughts.
Okay.
Let me just, yeah. All right, so as far as the impact of independent wrestling, I think it's rad because I come from punk rock. It's the purest form, independent wrestling. Sure, some people might be doing that as a stepping stone to be able to get a paycheck, but no one's out there on the independent scene getting banged up for $20 because, for the $20. Nobody's doing it for $20. So I feel like the independent wrestling scene is the purest form of this business and this culture. It's like where you really see gems, whether you see the beginning things before somebody is, a megastar, or where someone just gets to be that megastar in their world in front of 50 people. Howard Finkel, amateur right there. All these years in the business, doesn't turn his cell phone right on.
Sorry.
And those are my thoughts on the independent wrestlers.
Thank you.
All right. And I deserve that comment, Amy. Thank you. All right. I want to throw a question out, okay? I'm going to get to this right now. I want to get Larry, Tony, and Gene involved here. Legends House. How many have watched Legends House on the WWE Network? Panel? Okay. It was an amazing show. I want to just take Tony and Gene back, and also I'm going to ask Larry a question about it. What were your thoughts of Legends House now that you've come out of it? I mean, positives, negatives, Tony. Give me your vibe on that, and I'll also ask Gene as well.
Well, first of all, I got no negatives, none whatsoever. Because I started this business back in the early 70s. I sat there and listened to everybody talk, and it sounded like wrestling started in the 90s. I was already in the business for 20 years by the time the 90s rolled around. And I ain't trying to skip your question, but get back to what this lady said about the women wrestling. I think they ain't did enough. And that's my honest God too. They hadn't did enough with female. I remember I tell you a quick story tonight, and I promise how I get to it.
That's fine.
I remember Mula when she was world champion. We did a big show in Charlotte, North Carolina. Andre the Giant flew in, Dusty Rhodes flew in, I flew in, all the major guys flew in. Mula drove, and she was the world champion. I remember when Wendy Richter first won the belt. They had Hulk Hogan line up. People was lining up to get autographs for him when they had that cartoon. Remember the cartoon? Wendy Richter line was longer. A week later, she wasn't champion no more. So I think women's have been overlooked. I know a lot of great women wrestlers dating back to the early 70s, the early 80s, and they never, in my opinion, they never really got the recognition. People ask me, say, was there any racism in wrestling? No, I never seen any racism. But I did have seen a lot of women not reaching their full potential. Now, back to Legend House. It was part of one of the greatest experiences. When I first went into Legend House, I had one friend that I knew of in the wrestling business. And that one friend that I had was Howard Finkel. He was my only friend that I knew that I could really call a friend. After leaving Legend House, I had more than one friend. And if they asked me to do it again, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think it was an amazing, amazing, amazing program, a great idea. And, you know, probably one of the best, what do you call it? Reality now? Yeah, reality show, because there was no script. We were just being ourselves, and I think it was absolutely wonderful. I enjoy being with Mean Gene, even though every morning I spit tobacco juice all over the toilet seat, and she fussed at me about it, but we got along. He made me clean the tobacco juice off the toilet seat every morning. Now, why you want to do that, I don't know. It kind of look nice. Wake up in the morning, see a big old squall of tobacco juice and grab the toilet seat. You don't know what it is.
Thank you, Tony. Gene, Legends House, your thoughts, post haste.
Well, Howard, in all due respect, I am not going back. And I know you had a very eventful stay since your roommate was Pat Patterson.
Yes.
I spent the 4 weeks with the Tony Atlas, and I will say this for the guy. Sound effects came out of every possible orifice of that man's body, day and night. And then, and then to cap it off, he cooks chitlins inside the house, stinks for high heaven for 5 days. We have no cell phones, no computers, no television, no newspaper. We've got each other.
That's all you need.
And cocktails. Thank God for cocktails. The one thing we didn't have this. We had no talent. We had no divas. We had Ashley. And of course I grew up not with Moolah and Mae Young, but long before them with Cora Combs and with Princess Toma Toma. Freddie Blassie and myself were running mates. Howard, I guess in a word, Legends House, great experience, but a one-time. You got it.
Thank you. Larry, just one final thought on Legends House. If you were chosen to go into Legends House and live the experience like Gene, Tony, and myself did, would you be up for the task?
You know, here's the deal. Because I'm saying to myself, if they make more episodes, there's probably a pretty good chance that they may ask me. Now, Pat Patterson told me he would never do it again. It was like Gene said, you're locked in a house, you got no cell phones, you got no way to talk to anybody else, you're trapped in a house for a month with guys that you could want to break their neck, you know, I mean, I don't know, it would boil down, let me just say this. Vince better get the checkbook out if he thinks I'm going to a house for a month.
All right, very good. All right, very good, guys. All right, question, you had your hand up first. What is your name? Where are you from? And who do you direct this question to?
Hey guys, first I just want to say thank you so much for coming. My name is David in New York. And this goes to Bean, Gene, and Larry. You guys have set the mark in the business. Any funny road stories you can share from WWE and WCW?
No, they're all dirty.
I'm glad you asked that question. There's a lot of stories I can tell you from WWE. Unfortunately, I can't tell them here. Cameras are rolling. Members of the press are here.
But if you call the 900.
But if you call my 900 number, 1-900-909-9900, do not get your parents' permission. Absolutely not necessary. But it was all a real kick in the head. All the years that I've been with WWE, a little respite, a hiatus down at WCW. And Eric Bischoff and myself went through that at the bar last night until he finally fell asleep.
What was the question again?
Road story. Road stories.
Oh, a Rhode story. Oh my God. You know what? I was always kind of different than the other guys. I never drank, so after the show when everybody went out, I went to bed because my excitement on the road was getting up and running off to the golf course. So that was kind of my life. I'm not really that exciting kind of guy.
Larry, smoking.
Smoking, yes, I endorse smoking. Cigarettes are healthy for you. Been smoking for 40 years, never get sick, no artificial parts, 20/20 vision. I smoke cigarettes, shouldn't you?
All right, right here. Your name, where are you from, and who do you want to direct this question to, please?
My name's Ollie, I'm from England, Nottingham. I wanted to direct this question to me, Gene, and Larry. It's about WCW. Obviously in the 90s, there was a lot of times when things were going on that were getting so crazy, like with the Outsiders. That I remember on the Monday Night War DVD, I think Eric Bischoff said that the police got called when they thought the inmates were literally running the asylum. Could you just describe what happened with that, where when Ray got lawn darted into a wall or something, but the cops got called that night? A little bit of a story or something.
Gentlemen?
First of all, I want to ask you, have you ever seen the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yes.
Everybody there should have had lobotomies. It was a disaster of monumental proportions. The only reason it succeeded was totally coincidence, by accident. However, it was different enough, and the WWE product, in all honesty, at that time, was getting a little tired. Thank God they had The Rock and they had guys like Stone Cold and everything that was going on, because they built it back up, but they needed that charge. When Nitro came in and took over for 86 consecutive weeks in that ratings war, that Monday Night War, that is so well documented, by the way, I think it lit a fire under this company, and Vince McMahon was the one guy that could turn it around with a lot of great talent that he had in the, I don't want to say stable, but it was there, it was cultivated, new storylines, fresh things were happening, and all of a sudden, WCW couldn't come up with anything new. Once the ranks had been raided by the NWO, where the hell are you going to go? Nothing left. It was bigger than the company itself, and of course the long and the short of it was, it folded in early 2001, and it was integrated and merged into WWE, which worked for a while, but wouldn't work forever. But it was a real different experience, and when you got that kind of money, and can keep going forever, that's the way Larry can tell you. He's got enough of it in his pocket. He never spent any, that's for sure.
I'm cheap. I'll tell you a quick story. I was raised by Chief J. Strongbow in Korea, so you know. But WCW, when it came along, it was just time for a new era to start. Wrestling, like Gene said, it was stale. WCW was nothing but the leftover NWA guys for 10 years. WWE has some good talent, The Rock, Austin, but you know, you need some more opponent. And then all of a sudden, Turner, came up with this idea. He wanted to compete, threw a bunch of money out. Eric happened to be there. I'll tell you all a secret. Right before the AWA shut down, Vern tried one maneuver to try to stay in business when we were trying to get him to shut the doors down in the late, what the hell was it, 1989, 90. And he wanted to do an invasion deal where the AWA invaded the brand new WCW. And I had the belt, they wanted me to wrestle Sting, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it never happened. So down the road, when Eric Bischoff, who came from the AWA, and Greg Gagne, and me were together in WCW, and Ted popped up, we said, hey, let's do the old AWA idea. And that's where the NWO came from. It was an invasion idea that the AWA had that never worked. So I'm the one that programmed Scott Hall coming in and all these guys, boom, and Eric. I got so much heat on Eric. People were diving over to things trying to kill him. So I wrestled Eric to save Nitro from the New World Order, and I wrestled Scott Hall. And that was all the programming. And then like Mean Gene said, then the New World Order, the whole thing, it got out of hand, it got out of control. Basically, Eric stopped listening was the bottom line, but instead of it being like it should, it went to the black and the red and the green and the yellow and the Latino World Order and then all that, and then AOL came in and just canceled it. They had one place to go. We had a guy that could have been the new Bruno, that could have beat the New World Order if it was right. His name was Goldberg, but it just never got to that time. So the rest is history.
Thank you very much. Before we go up to the floor, I just want to take a little twist here, if I may. I'm going to go around to the panel. Of course, wrestling has always been in your blood, okay? But I want to also find out, what is your hobby outside of wrestling? I'd like to ask the panel, what is your hobby outside of wrestling? I know you are an accomplished artist, without a doubt, but take it away, Tony.
When I'm not wrestling, well, y'all know I draw, but also I came up real poor. So what I like to do a lot is, that's what me and Hacksaw got into it about. Well, I work with a lot of young people. You know, when I was a kid, you always see a young kid hanging around an old man. Now, you know, you don't see that anymore. And like, not to get political, but if you listen about Hillary Clinton, she said it takes the whole neighborhood to raise one child. And sometimes we don't take the time, the time to, to help a kid, and these kids are the, our future. So right now I work with a lot of mentally challenged adults, and I work at the YMCA as a personal trainer, and also I got a kid program, and I take young people in and teach about fitness. And one of the things that I'm very, very strong on is self-responsibility. If something happened, if you notice when something happened good in your life, you always take all the credit. With me, if something happened real good in my life, I've written in my book, my success in life, I owe to thousands and thousands of people for making me successful. My failure in life, I owe only to me, because I am the captain of my own ship. In every decision you make in life, no matter who suggests the idea, you still have to go along with it. So I believe in self-responsibility, not blaming other people for my downfall, and rewarding people for my success. So I like working with young people outside of wrestling. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Maria?
Okay. I'm actually in school right now. I'm going to college at Johnson & Wales, which is right down the street from here, in sports entertainment and event management. So that is my main focus that takes up all of my energy when I'm not wrestling on the weekends, whether it be in New Japan or Ring of Honor. So that keeps me plenty busy. I don't really need a hobby outside of that.
So like Maria, I'm also a student. I'm finishing my degree right now in mass communications. I'm attending Colorado State University. I'm a mother of two. And I also took up shooting. I'm an excellent shot.
Oh.
Stay away from her. I actually bought my first gun.
Oh!
I have a Glock 19.
No!
And upon graduation, I'm looking to get into public relations, and I want to work for the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Task
Oh
Force.
my goodness.
That's where my focus is right now, and that's it.
Oh, good.
Well, I do a lot of stuff. I do lots of things. I do things. But I guess something that, like a hobby is something you can get lost into, right? So something that I do as a side job is I edit videos for people. So it's pretty cool because it kind of coincides with wrestling in the sense of like, okay, you're trying to tell a good story, brother, when you're doing a match. Whereas it's really cool to dive into when I edit because people will give me footage and be like, this is what I want. And then like I do it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is exact, and that makes me feel so fulfilled to like bring somebody else's vision to light kind of thing. So that's what I really get lost into. And I love my mini pinchers, Fred and Ethel Mertz. We go on lots of hikes. My sister's my best friend, my soulmate, so we just go to happy hour, hikes, everything. I just like to live life. I always tell people I live in this place called Franklin Village. And I always say, I love my little Franklin Village life because everything's there. There's bars, there's restaurants, there's comedy clubs, and that's just kind of what I do. I edit, I get lost in Franklin Village, and then the weekend comes and it's time to brother it up.
Oh, wow. I actually actually have 4 kids, I don't know, I didn't hear that right, yeah. So, according to some, I have like 17, 30, Charlie and I stopped at 4, so, I guess, yeah, the main focus and hobby, of course, is my kids, and living life to the fullest with them. Being that soccer mom, being there for whether it's something creative in school or any programs or whatever they have, really, I mean, they're young, and just taking everything in, and taking everything in from a perspective of, you have to really be grateful for everything you have, and each one of us up here, and every one of you guys out there have tremendous opportunities, and it's just grab life by the horns and do something you enjoy, and I enjoy being a mother, and I enjoy also when that mothering sometimes gets to be a little too much. I really enjoy yoga and cycling, so I think sooner or later I'll definitely become a yoga instructor. That's really been one of my passions as of late.
My 4 boys are all grown up, thank God. They're out of the house, they're gone, I'm free. All I do is golf and float in the pool, and I carry a car 45 caliber. And life is good. And another kind of weird omen thing happened. I've had some high spots in my careers that's kind of like an alchemy, kind of happened at the right time with Bruno at the end of the old school era with Shea Stadium, and then the involvement in the Wrestle War, Biggie. I mean, I don't even know if wrestling can ever get that hot again with the invasion scenario that I pulled off with them. And now I'm back to the point where, just by chance, the WWE opens their training center 5 miles down the road from my house. So I've been having a chance to go down to NXT and the PC and get more involved now. And it's kind of like the circle of life goes. The kind of thing that's exciting to me now is I got a chance to put all the knowledge I've got from the old school back into a new era, a new network era that's just kind of starting before our very eyes. And it's just going to be a great, now wrestling in the WWE, it went from the territories to the national television, and now it's going to go to the world. And it's going to be a new era, and I'm going to put the knowledge back in, so I'm thrilled about that.
I personally think it's very important that if you don't go forward, you go backward. If you don't grow, you die. So I have embarked on a new career. I'm going to be a hairdresser. No, seriously, mortality shows up every day, and unfortunately, the funnel gets a little narrower as we get older. All the friends that I made in this business, in the last 2 months, I went to a funeral for Vern Gagne. We laid Dusty Rhodes to rest a week and a half ago in Tampa. And a lot of my brethren, the people, we're all getting older, and we all will. None of us get out of this alive. So what I'm doing is I'm enjoying every fucking day of my life.
Well, that was great. What else is there, right?
It's only an adjective.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm also a mother. I have an 11-year-old boy who's very athletic, so soccer mom, Friday Night Lights, you name it.
Does he have a mustache?
Not yet. He's really blonde, so you can barely see it. But the other thing I spend most of my time on is I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit organization called the One Step Closer Foundation for people suffering from cerebral palsy. We do a lot of stuff to raise money. Celebrity poker tournaments in Vegas twice a year. We take a bunch of wrestlers to Tier Hospital, which is in Houston, Texas, and it's all for people suffering from spinal cord injuries. And just, they like meeting athletes and anybody who's active, I guess, and they love it. So we go around and meet the kids, give them pictures, kind of give them little pep talks to just keep trying and hopefully get them walking again. And that's really what I spend most of my time on, either my son or the foundation. I don't knit or anything.
I thought I had you pegged, not a knitter.
Not a knitter.
So yeah, I think as Jean said, living life to the absolute fullest, not knowing when each day could be your last, is about the ultimate hobby that you could have. So as you travel on the road and there's no off season, you do get to see the world and have these experiences that nobody else would have unless you're in this business. However, I can tell you a lot about the world, airports, arenas, and hotels, but not a whole lot other than that. So when I retired, I was very adamant about continuing traveling, but on my own schedule, not the WWE's, and actually seeing things and doing a little research and getting to see some of these amazing cities that I'd been to, maybe several times, but not getting to like jump in and get into. And so that had been my hobby, was kind of having things come full circle and getting a second opportunity to see things but in a different way, not quite as tired and not maybe being pulled in such a different direction. And I was really enjoying that, and then kind of liked not having to set my alarm most days. And then just most recently, the past few weeks, and now I'm involved in the most recent season of Tough Enough, and like Larry's saying, being down in the Performance Center and being around this generation that's budding right now. I love setting, I'm like 7 a.m., time to get up and go and see what these kids have and to be involved and being part of that. I guess it's not technically a hobby because I'm getting paid for it, but it is my newest hobby because I love waking up for work every day and being involved in, I guess they're not kids, some of them are, I think our oldest competitor on the show is 30, but I call them the kids because they're where I remember having that passion and wanting it so bad and doing whatever it would take, and it's really awesome to see that in these kids' faces, whether they're the NXT, the kids under contract already, or the Tough Enough competitors, to see them want it. It's super fun right now.
Thank you, panel. I told you we're going to be rolling here. We've got about 5 minutes to go, so let's take your question right here. What is your name, where are you from, and who is the question directed to?
I'm John from the Boston area for Larry Zbyszko. Could you share a couple of thoughts about your match with Bruno at Shea Stadium?
Nice question. I think it was August 9th, 1980, Shea Stadium. Bruno Sammartino, Larry Zbyszko. What went through your mind and how did you feel after the fact?
Well, you know what? There's a couple of things. I'll keep it short. I mean, that was my break of a lifetime. But it was something that was, there should be a movie about the road to Shea Stadium, because at that time, Bruno broke his neck a couple of years before and hung up the boots and was done. And they tried to push Backlund and some other guys. But the long story short, the business was dying. And everything I've learned, but I was still young for those days, like 25, 26, but I knew in my heart if anybody could get Bruno back in the ring, he would, not only be the next big news, because all the publicity came out of New York City with the magazines in those days. There's no cable or anything. So, I don't know if it's heartless of me or not, but this poor old guy just broke his neck doing the commentating, but I had this idea, so I went to Bruno and tried to talk him into it, and I was working, went to Vince Sr., and he was hard, Vince, because Vince Sr. didn't believe in me because I wasn't a 300-pound ugly brute like you had to be in those days. So it was really interesting getting the thing going. I kind of wrote in my book some of the story, but I talked Bruno into it, and he said, okay, I'll do it, but we're only going to do it this way. And he's the one that set it up, and I learned a lot. And then because Bruno said he would do it, then as soon as Vince Sr. heard, then Vince Sr. said, okay, we'll do it, because he knew that if Bruno came back, he'd be making payday. But then some of the politics that happened between, because I was the one getting shot at and stabbed, and my cars were set on fire and smashed, and I wanted to make sure I was getting more payday than Backlund, who, even though he had the belt, his fans were dressed like empty seats. So me and the McMahons had some headbutts that caused some feuding for 25, 30 years. But it was a wild walking out that day, because it was God, my dream came true that day, walking out in front of 45,000 people in a time when it was unheard of. It was unheard of. It was never on the news. That night, wrestling was on the news, and if you look back at the history of the business, that whole angle, that run at Shea Stadium was like the big marker of the end of the old school. The Brunos and the Verns and the Krushelowskis and the Kowalskis, they were going away. And a new era started, the nationwide era of the characters, the Hulk, the Macho, the Superfly, the that. And now, like I said, now we're going into a new one that's even greater. But Shea, classic. Someone wake Tony up, will you?
Yes, please.
Larry, I just want to say, maybe you could talk Bruno again, like you two going out on the road, because I enjoyed both of your interaction on the Hall of Fame and your two stories and how they parallel and go back and forth, and there's just so much knowledge, and both of you are just so captivating to listen to. I enjoyed it so much. I think everybody would.
Thank you very much. All right, right here. How are you? What is your name, where are you from, and who do you want to direct this question to, please?
My name is Brittany. I'm also from the Boston area, and this is for Lita. When will we ever see you back at the WWE ring for like one epic last match?
There you go.
Are they going to start like a seniors division anytime soon?
I'll pay to see it. I mean, there's a lot of Lita fans out there. I just want to see you one more time in the ring. Maybe not WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I never say never. Like I said, I kind of had a re-spark of just really enjoying being up in the business currently. I'm kind of enjoying being on the other side of it and enjoying success of the younger kids, but that doesn't mean to say that I wouldn't love to be in there one more time with the right person. Never say never, but it's not like on the top of my to-do list. It's maybe like somewhere lower down there.
Okay.
All right. Time for a couple more questions. Right here, sir. And your name, where you're from, and who do you want to direct your question to, please?
John from Lowell, it's for Amy. When you came in, you basically reinvented women's wrestling. You did things that nobody had done, women or men. And now you're training the kids, like you say, coming up. Do you see anybody that has that possibility that could maybe be that next level, that next jump?
Amy?
So when I came in, I did things that women in the United States on national TV hadn't done. I stole it from Japan and from Mexico, just to. But you know, I see people with potential, but the main thing that I see with the Performance Center, and I'm not trying to be like PC and just like smoke up WWE's ass or anything, but what they've put together there, like if there's a chance for someone to stand out, male or female, and be the next whoever you want to say that person is, the next Bruno or the next Stone Cold or Rock or whoever you want to say, like all of the tools are there. They've got so many, you know, like all these rings. They have like a trampoline ring. Like where was that? Jeez, I would have appreciated that. But you know, so they've got trainers and medical trainers and all these things that I feel like we really dialed in to give the tools to the youth to and like cut the cord and go. You know, that's what I want to see is you use all these tools, but then cut the cord and go, which is what I feel like potentially we're missing in the kids is they do get a little neutered and scared and want to follow the rules too much. And that's the only thing that I feel like is missing from getting that next, whoever you want to put in those quotes. I don't even want to give someone that name because I'd be discrediting all of those other people.
Alrighty, last question, right over here. Name, sir, where are you from, and who do you want to direct your question to, please?
Hi, I'm Bob from Boston, and this question is for Jackie. If you can talk about the difficulties of going through a reality show and then trying to deal with being accepted, not just from the fans, but by your peers, as a new wrestler.
Jackie?
Yeah, I would have loved the trampoline thing too, because I mean, when I got into Tough Enough, I of course loved wrestling, but did not know too much about it. So getting into it, just jumping into it, snowballing, of course, and getting the opportunity I did, it was a very difficult road to first and foremost just learn your craft, but sink or swim. And I sunk a lot of times, but I continued to swim, and I think through that developed relationships and found pieces of myself that I never knew that existed. And it's an opportunity that I never in a million years saw coming, but I would never give it back for anything in my life. It gave me not so much about myself, and finding myself, and I guess lighting that spark of the athlete that I knew that I had, and just not in that capacity. It took a lot to prove, it took a lot for me to go backstage and to, oh my gosh, it really was. It was something that really helped develop me, not only inside of the ring, but becoming a mother and a wife, and I would have never met Charlie and had the family I had if it wasn't for Tough Enough. But certainly, like Amy said, just to have the tools that they have now, and we had tremendous tools being Tough Enough too. But there was a lot to just ask these questions of, oh my God, what's next? Like, what is next? And that was the hardest part. You just never knew what was coming next, especially just being, not being in the independent circuit and coming into wrestling the very first time when I stepped foot in that ring for the first time at Tough Enough. So.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude our Q&A. I want to thank our panel, and I would ask you to thank them as well. Amy Dumas, Lita, Ryan Shamrock, Mean Gene Okerlund, the living legend Larry Zbyszko, Jackie Gayla Haas, Shelly Martinez, Crystal Marshall, Maria Kanellis, and Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the other side.